It's your girl Narisse. And not only is it me, but it's also my birthday. Happy oh, in Orlando, Florida. And, my current situation is a little interesting. So I am, I was staying in my car for a period of time in Maryland. And I was trying to tow my car here. So even though my car wasn't working, I at least had like a place to kind of stay. But the towing companies were just like fraudulent, and I would work up the money, save up hundreds of dollars for my train tickets and my towing company, and whatever, it just didn't work out. But I just kind of took a leap of faith and decided to come out here anyway, just because it was getting colder in Maryland, and I know in Florida it is warmer for the most part. I know we've been experiencing like some cold days out here, so that kind of sucked. But you know, my financial situation is a little bit strained, to say the least. But something that I wanted to do myself for my birthday or 30th, and being a girl from Jersey, where it's cold, uh, so when you're like temporarily like displaced in terms of housing, nice weather is just a simple thing to be grateful for. And so I knew the first step was to be in a place where the climate is generally warmer, but I kind of wanted to test myself and work my magic and really just be warm for the day. Ideally, I want it to be on the beach. And as of right now, I think it's like in between like 60 and 70 degrees right now, and it's like actually like warming up and pretty hot. I'm like, this isn't bad beach weather. I wouldn't mind laying out sunbathing, which is kind of what I'm doing. But I'm just at Starbucks and not a beach. But despite the challenges that I've been dealing with in these last few days, and just a lot of like pushback with me promoting my business and trying to sell my products and everything, and not really getting much traction out here, I'm grateful that I'm able to sit in the sun right now, because I was unsure of that. And, I'm just very proud that the weather is what it is right now. And, and yeah, so, and I have other plans. I'm supposed to be like getting a hotel later on. So I'm excited about that. But in the meantime, I just wanted to kind of update you guys. And, if you wanted to support it all, my Cash App and Venmo links are in the description. So, if you wanted to send your girl some birthday love or some birthday coins, I'd be so grateful because, like I said, sales have been really tough lately. And funny enough, I've city would be more opportunity. Like, let me find out little old College Park and make more wave and more motion than Orlando, you know. But I know it's more than that. It's more to it, and certain people intention block or whatever. It's fine. I still push through and I hustle and I work for it anyway. Uh, thanks, who have been, you know, positive from standing in my life now. Certain conversations that are with family drama, because my life is more than my relation to my like family that I don't really care for. But I do want to say thank you to the people who have been supporting. Thank you to the people who've purchased CDs. Thank you to the people who've donated. Thank you to the people who just like followed on social media and lent a positive word. I'm grateful for everyone that's just like, assisted in any way and like helped me out. Whether it's the music, whether it's financially, whether it's just like, sometimes I'll like sit like stop and have a conversation with somebody, and they'll just like, leave me with a positive word, and I'm really grateful for that. Everything doesn't have to be so transactional and monetary, although that does really help. But I'm just grateful for genuine human interaction, and not people just, living by scripts, and having robotic interactions because people are just like, on the move and playing their role in society. So I just wanted to say that I'm grateful for like the people who are real and who are genuine, and and let me know what it is, whether it's positive or not. But just like, as long as it's authentic and you're coming from a space of love, and you're not trying to like attack me, but you're trying to inform me, I appreciate that. Because everything doesn't have to be a like, how can we tell this person what to do, and and or cause pain in this person's life. But things can just be informative. Like, just let me know what's going on. And if you have a problem with something, inform me, but you don't have to attack me before you even hear my side or my perspective about it. That's all I'm saying. And I feel like we're in a day and age in society where we're just too comfortable like just attacking people without even all the facts or evidence or opinions or perspectives. We're just like, we get a bit of information and it's like, oh, well, let me stand over here and give this person a hard time, rather than, I don't know, having a mind of our own and deciding, like, even if you don't like a person, you could disagree with somebody without intentionally causing harm in their life. And I just feel like in my particular reality, people are too comfortable with that, like too comfortable just causing pain in people's lives, and you don't even know that person, or you know what you think you know, but you didn't even have like a genuine conversation with them. You had a conversation with them that you already played in your mind of what you were going to say to them, or what you should say to them, versus just going off your heart, and and really just connecting with somebody organically. But I digress. So anyway, yeah, so I mean, it's been a bit of a challenge out here, but there have been some positives, and the weather had been one of them, which is why I came out here in the first place. Um, but you know, I've just been on a quest for freedom, and I know it comes with its challenges, especially without like the necessary resources to cover like housing and transportation and like food and whatnot. But there's been folks that's been, helping me out and assisting and, doing what they can to like just like provide. And I'm very grateful for that. And, you know, although there are their challenges, there are people who have been helpful. And, sometimes, you know, there's some like questionable help, but I'm just going to try to focus on the positive nonetheless, regardless of, who is doing what. Because, there's always shenanigans afoot. Um, anyway, um, yeah, so today's a nice day. It's warm out. The weather is beautiful, and it's been cold for a few days. So I'm glad that, I can sunbathe a little bit, ideally, which is what I wanted to do. And, all right. Yeah. I'm just gonna like try to just, because there's a lot for me to complain about, and I don't want to do. But I will say I'm grateful for the spaces that allow me to just exist, and and understand my circumstance and my situation, and just decide to be the type of person to just like try to make it a little easier for me, or just like stay out the way, and don't give me a hard time. I'm grateful for those folks and those spaces and establishments. Grateful for my talent, like assist and help, give me word, just like about certain um it's that. And you know I appreciate the folks that you know just have a mind of their own and aren't so like persuaded and pushed by, people in positions of power and people who do in people's lives either moving away to go trying to like still govern my life. Just like I don't live for y'all. I don't care how your systems set up for me, and I rebuke anything that has to interfere and just right to exist, because I know all in all, my default in life is just to like make music, spend time with good people, and just try to be, I don't know, just try to help folks if I can, or just have a good time. That's ultimately all I want to do, and I feel like that's what all anybody wants to do. Aside from like pursuing whatever it is we're interested in, if we're in school, if we're in our careers, I feel like we all just want to, be healthy, take care of our loved ones, spend time with people who care about us, and you know, pursue the things that make us happy. The pursuit of happiness, right? I feel like we all have a right to that. And even if it looks different for different people, that's okay. As long as we're not interfering with somebody else's pursuit of that, you know, I think that should just be a way of life. But, maybe that's too simplistic for humanity. You know, we tend to be creatures of, you know, drama and such. But, all of it is inspiration to me nonetheless. And yeah, on another positive note, I had been getting back into singing because I had been like trying to like knock this cold out my system for like a few weeks now, and it's getting on my fucking nerves. But in the midst of it, like I had lost my voice for a little bit, but I regained it. And as irritating as that was, it kind of put in perspective. Um, Again, putting me in a space of gratitude of, just the things that I'm able to do with my voice, even when I'm not in like tip top shape. Um, just because there was different things that I could do and things that I couldn't do. Like my alto was as well. Days, but clear to be. I was like, um, and so it just gaining. It was interesting, but allowed me to be grateful for the things that I'm able to do with my voice. And also just a reminder, like regardless of the things that I go through and regardless of the things that I say, like my talent is not is up for debate. You know, um, my talent, that's not something that you could say, oh, well, then again, art is subjective. So some people could say, there's people who say some of the best vocalists in the world can't sing. I don't know how, but I feel like those are people who can't sing who usually say that. But you know, yeah, I'm just excited because my whole thing was like, look, I'm selling CDs, and in Maryland it was working for me. I was able to, even on slow days, I was always able to make enough to like, cover food and make sure my phone bill was good and my gym membership was good. And out here it's just been a bit of a struggle. It's just like, damn, nobody wants to help and support folks, but that's fine. Um, but I'm just like, okay, how do I pivot from this? Like what's the next step forward? And I feel like naturally, like performing is one of them because I mean it's an easier way to make more money in a shorter amount of time. So I've been working on like putting a show together, and And that's been an interesting process, just like figuring out, like, okay, what do I want to sing? What's the story I want to tell? What do I want to give live? Um, what's worth what rate, you know? And so that's been interesting. But then also like trying to find places to perform, that's been a challenge in itself. So, I'm just figuring out ways to just kind of like navigate the system and figure out like, okay, well, what do I need to do? Um, if I can't perform at a venue, then make a performance happen anyway. Like be in a space where I don't have to rely on other people telling me yes or no, and I could just make it happen because I have to do sometimes make an opportunity and control the situation. It sucks when you want to collaborate, but for whatever reason, but you pivot solutions anyway. So I'm not taking no for an answer. I'm very rock bottom of my situation when my car stopped working, or when I was in my car and it was working and I couldn't like figure out a work situation. My music, my art, my voice was the thing that was able to provide for me. And and whether people listen to the music or not, or just wanted to purchase and support, I'm extremely grateful for that, and I'm grateful to God that I have that ability to be able to lean on it. So and I've been hesitant about performing, but I miss it though. I'm not gonna lie, I miss singing. I miss live interactions with people. Oh, goodness. Oh, my little toesies. Anyway, um, yeah, I miss doing what I do best and people seeing me for that. You know, I think back to and shout out to whoever reminded me. I mean, they know who they are. Who reminded me of actually this happened on several occasions in the last few months. But who's reminded me of my talent show performances before, like, my life went topsy turvy in the last few years, when I was just a girl from Jersey that would sing little pop songs at the talent show in high school, and that's what people knew me. And even when I I feel like we are. I mean, it's I'll go where I performed "Overjoyed" by Stevie Wonder, and it was a cappella, mind you. I didn't have any back music or nothing. It was just me, the stage, and the microphone, and I sang the song. And it's a ballad too. It's a slow song. It's an old school R&B song, and mind you, I'm in high school at a predominantly white school. I mean, it is what it was, and regardless, it didn't matter that technically the demographics of it didn't make sense. Like, why am I singing an old school R&B song in front of all these like young white girls? But it didn't matter because those young white girls were supportive, and and they cheered me on, and I had like a standing ovation after the performance. And and I miss those days when I could just be like Narice from, is a really good singer, and not the shenanigans that's going on in my family, because I'm so much more than that, have more to offer the world than you know this back and forth beefing and you know ordeal with them. But yeah, anyway, yeah. So I mean, I miss those days, and I know like me performing today wouldn't be, or maybe it could be. I don't know. Maybe I need to be more optimistic. Um, but I know like I'm like so much stronger as a vocalist, and I'm like a better performer than that. You know, so and I'm just like sometimes like it's tough because what Erica Badu say? She said I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my shit. And I am. Like I mean I'm tough and I could deal with it. But when you really care about what you do and you're passionate about it and you care to do a good job and not just do it because like, oh, I need the money. But like no, because like I actually have put hours and like decades of time into this craft of just like creating art and performing and singing songs to connect with people. It matters to me. It's more than just like, oh, I want to sing my songs and like be cute. Like no, genuinely want to have like a connection with folks. Kind of reminded me of my other performance where you know my first time performing in front of my friends, they like broke down and cried. And and that was the first time I've ever like had that reaction before. um but but that's what music is for. That's what it's for, that connection of being able to share your gifts with the world, and then people resonate with it in a way where it affects them emotionally, whether it be positive, whether it be inspirational, whether it be lovingly, you know and so to have that reaction when I mean, and of course it was like Beautiful by Christina Aguilera, you know the cliche song for that to be that. But I mean, even still, I was just a high schooler at that time, and I wasn't like bragging about my talent or anything. I was just low key about it until the opportunity presented itself. But I say that to say like that's what we do it for, or at least that's what I do it for. you know I don't care about like being the most popular or the most awarded. I mean, all of that would be nice, but I care about you know being authentic in my talent and connecting with people who appreciate it. you know People who love art and music and fashion and film, and can respect when somebody is talented and puts the time and energy into creating something with intention, beauty, storytelling, mastery, whatever. You know, like I'm, how they say, like, get you like an earthy art type girl. That is very much me. All in all, if I didn't have to worry about the things that I have to worry about, I would just be in like an artist dream. But yeah, I don't know. I just would hope to find ways to create that in the world that I happen to be living in, you know, where there's the challenges, but I'm still an artist. I'm still a creative. I'm still somebody who cares about making good art and, you know, telling my story and sharing my gifts with people who resonate with it and actually value it and appreciate it. And, because unfortunately we live in a world where, people will see talent, and instead of like cherishing it and appreciating it, will try to take advantage of it. And, and say, how can I get something out of this? Rather than, how can I nourish this? How can I protect this? How can I, you know, instead of taking and being like draining, how can I be a blessing? And ultimately, I feel like that's like the life's work of an artist is, well, Nina Simone would say an artist's job is to reflect the times. And I do think that's true. But I do also feel that an artist's job is to be a blessing. Because, I mean, regardless of people's backgrounds, I feel like we all know somebody that may have had a moment where it's like, this song changed my life. This song saved my life, or this movie was the movie that made me not want to give up, or whatever the case may be, right? We all have that in our life, I feel. And I feel like that's important. And sometimes the arts get overlooked because it's not seen as important, but it is though. Because, what would the world be without art? It's boring. It's, you know, so robotic and serious, and everything is about like capitalism and making enough money just to survive, or being the top person to do this. But I think the beauty with art is that it's a way of expression without having to compete to be like the richest person, or the most successful at this, or having being the top in your company, because it's around beauty. It's around, you know I don't know, expression, and just making something. And sometimes it doesn't even have to be beautiful, but as long as it's like real, and not manufactured and so robotic. I don't know. I think art is the thing that gives color to society, because the rat race of just trying to survive can have us lose that and lose touch with like what really matters, which I feel like is human connection, you know, people living authentically, living for, the things that make them happy, what they're good at, you know. I feel like there's too much shame around hobbies. I feel like people look down on hobbies like, oh, that's just a hobby. That's not something to take seriously. Well, I mean, who wants to be so serious all the fucking time, every day, of just like, I have to go to work, pay bills, go home, sleep? Like, you know, I feel like we don't put enough time and energy into things that make us happy. Even if it's something as simple as like crocheting, I don't know, you know, making fucking sweaters, or I don't know. They got this what do you call it? Like these Lego bears I saw that some people do, where they like put little pieces together and they form these bears. Like, some people do that, and that's what brings them joy, and that's what makes them happy. And some people with a pessimistic mentality can see that as like a waste of time, but it's like, why not? Why not be into making fucking bear Legos? I don't know. But my point is just like, you know, money and survival puts us in a space where we don't get the time to appreciate the things that are actually worth living for, you know. And I'm kind of in that space because it's like, yeah, I need money. Like, I need money to eat. I need money to survive and make it out here. And, gratefully, I have my art to lean on that as a means for me to be able to make something. But I don't want to lose the whole purpose of it, you know. Like, I'm not just an artist just to pay bills and like eat and like live this robotic life that society wants me to be, this eating, working machine. Like, no, I want to create beauty in the world, you know, and leave something that's worth experiencing. Like a song that makes you want to dance when you're having a hard day, when that person tried you, and instead of like popping off, you turn a song on that gets you in a good mood, that resonates with how you're feeling, and it flips the situation into a positive for you. That's the thing that matters to me. because we all need it, whatever that looks like for us. And for some people, that could be crocheting. Some people, that could be building their Legos. Some people, that could be painting. That could be, I don't know, whatever it is that we all do that is our own kind of work or creation or just ways of expression. Or gym truck videos. I mean, that's my own personal thing. You know, oddly satisfying, but satisfying nonetheless. Um, but I'm because I am who I am. I have to be careful because you never know. Snowstorms might start or something. I don't know. Not that that's what I'm trying to do, but yeah, I say the quiet part out loud because why live and assimilate to the matrix that wants us to act like we don't know what we know. But anyway, yeah. Um, yeah, so essentially, I don't know who needs to hear this, but I guess this is a message for the creatives and the artists, or just anybody who appreciates art too. Like, you don't necessarily have to be a creative yourself, but somebody that like values it. You know, I guess if there's a message that I could leave for the humans that actually have the ears to hear it, because not everything is for everybody. Some people are hell bent on hearing what they want to hear, but for the people who have the ears to hear it, you know, regardless of your situation, especially if you're like a space of survival, don't lose the things that make you happy, and don't lose the things that are authentic expressions of yourself that doesn't have to be tied to a monetary gain, but just something that brings you joy, you know? Because I feel like the world is missing that. And everything is just so like scripted and robotic and planned and orchestrated. And nothing feels like true in this Truman Show shenanigans. But yeah, that's my PSA for the day. My 30 years of wisdom. I already been saying I've been 30 this whole year anyway. So when people would ask me like, "Oh, how old are you?" I'm like, "I'm gonna be 30 in a year." I'm like, "What is 29?" I don't know. Um, but yeah, today's the day. I made it, nigga. We made it, and many thought I wouldn't or have tried to stop me. Well, bitch, I'm still here. Um, and shout out to the people who have helped me get here. I'm extremely grateful to y'all, and yeah, I have a ways to go. But in the meantime, for those who are watching, whether you're watching through the Matrix or you watching on my actual page, y'all can go on the description and look at my accounts and send the girl a coin if you want to celebrate my birthday or send love my way. I'd greatly appreciate it. Only because I do have to do the things. I do need to eat. I need to cover my bills and my devices and all these things because we do live in a capitalist society. So you know, with that said, um, you know, not everything is about monetary gain, but I still got to get my coins. So, um, help a girl out, and if you can, and if not, that's fine too. I'm cool with that. But I do want to also end on like a prayerful note because that's very true to me. Even though I don't know, I feel like the live stream was the prayer. Yeah, I don't want to be. I'm glad that this generally stayed positive. because I was worried about it. Because I mean, there's been a lot going on in my life and a lot on my mind that I felt like I have to constantly like defend and speak about. But I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to go back to like talking about the things that really matter, like I used to. You know, when I would get on live stream and have heart to hearts and talk about things that actually matter versus, you know, people want to feed me into speaking about talking about whatever celebrity paid my family to get me to speak of them so they could win their awards because that's the business. Oh, well, am I not supposed to say that out loud? Well, that's the truth. And that's exactly what it is. And for the last 30 years, I've been enslaved to that. So me moving out is a me breaking out of that. You know, my song Breaking Out the House, what that's about. Partially. On top of just dealing with people, you know, gang stalking and giving me a hard time and bullying me and all these things, and then trying to gaslight me into like not knowing my reality is what it is, and you know, try to make me out to be crazy when I know I there's a I had a 20-year run of being treated like a regular person with friends and you know activities and you know a life versus the last few years of this very like coded um you know abusive targeted reality. And I know the difference. I'm very clear on that. And even when I was at the height of my like depression and paranoia, like I wasn't delusional. Like I know what it is to be treated like you're loved by people versus people tolerating you and acting like they love you, but in code they're just interacting with you because they want a piece of what you have, or you know that's their lines to say for the day while they're interacting with you. And and I know there's more to my life than that, and I refuse to continue to live in that bubble. So yeah, I moved all the way to Orlando, Florida for now because I very much may still move. And you know, in that, you know, the bubble is still there, but I will get to a point in my life where the bubble is created and we don't have to speak in code and we can just say the quiet part out loud because we all know what it is. So yeah, and if you don't know, you know, I don't know, look into it. Look into the rabbit hole of who is Narisse McAllister and the McAllister family, and who are they to the people in the music industry? And why does everybody go to them to torture this girl so they could win their awards and do their sacrifices and such? Yeah, because that's the truth. At 12:49, here we go with the numerology. My point at 12:49 for the significance of 2:49. If it's Jesus that you believe in, be firm in that. Be solid in that. And be firm in your faith and your connection to God, because there are things out here that don't want you to be connected to God. They don't want you to know the power of loving Jesus and the power of not falling for the symbolisms and the coded messages that basically aids Satan, because that's real. I know it seems woo woo and super serious and you know spiritual, but that's real life, and we just have to acknowledge that and wake up to it sooner rather than later. But whatever it is your faith is, be strong in it, be firm in it, and don't let other people try to like sway you, or you know. And even if maybe somebody gives you a good idea or opens your mind in a way, just be strong enough to make your own decisions. And know what you believe and what feels good to you. I had a whole journey through that, through like African spirituality, going back and forth between Christianity or not, trying to balance the two, feeling like, you know, not accepted in either space. But, I ultimately got to a space where I know what feels good to me, and, and what works for me, and what prayers I, and what, rituals that I resonate with, whether it be like taking a spiritual bath, blending herbs, cleansing a home with a smudge, smudging a home, and then also speaking prayers, to Jesus and using the Bible that connects me. That's what resonates with me. It elevates my life without me having to care about whether I'm doing it right or doing it wrong. Like I've been through all of those, hiccups, and I still go through it because there's still a lot that I still don't know. But that's been my journey, and it wasn't easy. When they say like a spiritual awakening is not all blue skies and rainbows. It's not. If you really awakening and going through it and learning, and especially for me, because I was fed all the wrong stuff, and especially to not know the truth of who I am spiritually, let alone me as this lifetime's experience as Narisse, the black woman in this vessel. And there's more to my story than that. But when you truly know thyself, other people can't tell you who you are. Even if it's I will say, but me,